Hello, welcome to this new video. My name is Martina Vincenzi and I am the founder of the VIP Flight Attendant Academy Private Jet Coach. Today I would like to answer to one of the most interesting questions that normally I am asked when it comes to private aviation. I would say probably the $1 million question, and the question is, in order to fly as a VIP flight attendant on board a private jet, do I need to possess a cabin crew license? Well, the answer is no, but. No, because according to the law, if a jet is below 20 seats in the cabin, so between 1 and 19 seats are present in the cabin, you do not need to have on board somebody for the safety, security and first aid type of duties. If somebody is present in the cabin, this person is considered to be there for another type of duties, which include also the comfort of your customers. But on a private jet, the responsible of the cabin, the responsible of the flight, the solely, entirely responsible person is actually the captain. And in case of any type of situation, either normal or abnormal situation, he or she will has the power to take decision and eventually also delegate to the other crew members the actions that he or she thinks is correct to undertake according to the situation. So how does it work like? Well, you know, when you are on board a private jet, there is this big let's say mountain that you have to climb and eventually overcome, and is to understand the difference between flight attendant and cabin crew. This is the topic that I normally discuss on day one of my trainings, and that I keep on mentioning it throughout the entire training, because I wanted to make it clear and I wanted to make it you know, familiar, that my students become familiar with the sensation of being a flight attendant and not a cabin crew. What is the main difference? The main difference, I'm talking for the daily business, for the everyday type of situation, is your authority on board. Your authority is different. You are not the responsible of the flight. The captain is the responsible of the flight. You are a flight attendant, and flight attendants, you know, they might come from a very different background. This is one of the most interesting peculiarities of this industry, that you know, a VIP flight attendant might have flown commercial airline before, which this is the majority of the situation, or he or she might have had a completely different background and experience. For example, a butler in a private mansion or in a residence. Maybe they have worked in a 5-star restaurant or a Michelin-starred restaurant or hotel or resort. They might have worked inside a private yacht, for example. They might have been PAs, so personal assistant of very wealthy people, and then eventually, you know, throughout their career, they ended up to fly also as a VIP flight attendant. So it really depends, it's really different. The people who do not have a commercial aviation background in this industry are a small percentage, I would say, but definitely yes, they are present, and they are very interesting to talk to, because of the completely different way to approach this job. So again, when it comes to apply for this type of job as a VIP flight attendant, what do you do? I would say it really depends which country you want to apply for. So the type of job you want to apply for, and where is it located in the world. If you fly, for example, if you want to apply for a VIP flight attendant position in America, then you do not need to have a cabin crew license, but you need to undergo to a specific training, which is a safety, security and first aid training provided by a certain institution which are approved from the Aviation Authority of the United States of America. And this type of training is normally on your expenses. So you need to have that certification before even thinking about applying for a job. And then eventually, because you have that, you are a very sensitive profile, a sensitive candidate, and they can take you on board. And then eventually all the renewals are on the expenses of the company which has hired you. In Europe, it works a little bit different. So in Europe, you do not need to have a cabin crew license, also called cabin crew attestation. So you might find both names, but they still work the same. You do not need to have one. However, when you are hired from the private jet operator, the majority of them still do enroll you into one of these trainings for safety, security and first aid. They are not obliged by the law to do so. It's a sort of a gift that they do for you, and it's actually a very convenient one because, you know, it's a way to refresh your knowledge about safety, security and first aid and all the procedures, evacuation, ditching, emergency landing, etc., etc. So it's very, very appreciated. Some of the operators in Europe, they do require you to hold an EASA cabin crew license. So they do not want any cabin crew license issued by whatever country in the world, but they want to have the European one. The EASA is the European Aviation Authority. And every state, every country of Europe, they do actually fall into the regulation of EASA. So they actually want you to have an EASA cabin crew license. So how does it work? If you're coming from, for example, an experience of the airline in the Middle East, and you then possess a GCAA type of license, cabin crew license. GCAA is the Middle East Aviation Authority. So is this accepted or is it not accepted in Europe? Well, it depends. Sometimes if they want you to have the EASA cabin crew license, they will actually you know, make it clear, make a very clear statement in the job post that they normally share around. If it is not, it might not be necessarily what type of cabin crew license, it might not be important what type of cabin crew license you have, so long as you have one. As I said, people who are coming from an aviation, a commercial aviation background are actually the majority of the candidates who are undertaking this type of career later in their age, in their career path. Another thing that I would like to point out is the difference between a cabin crew license and a conversion course. So the cabin crew license is that training that you do about safety, security, first aid, and I don't know, for example, firefighting, dangerous goods, CRM, ditching, CPR, first aid, all these things. This is a cabin crew license type of training. And then you have a conversion course. So the conversion course is the training about that specific type of aircraft. Okay, when it comes to a private jet, you might have a cabin crew license because of your previous experience. You then undergo to the training, the same type of trainings. And then the conversion course that you do for your jet is normally, it's like internal, first of all. So within the company, is organized by the company and provided by the company. And it's about, you know, having a walk, having a chat, maybe even an entire afternoon or even an entire day together with the pilot to go through the entire cabin and discuss together about the emergency equipment, how do they work, how do they take them out, how do you plug in, for example, the oxygen mask, evacuation procedures, and so on and so forth. So the conversion course, or what is normally known as conversion course for the airline in the private aviation industry, is something that you do internally, okay, within the company. And the cabin crew license, so the training that you do, firefighting, dangerous goods, etc., that is normally, they normally enroll you for onto a normal training academy for also the same where the airline goes. For example, normally the one that I have used most of the times was the one in Zurich. For the national air carrier, and yeah, so it's basically the same type of place and the same type of institute because this institute is recognized by the aviation authority and they have the right to give this type of training. All of this applies only on flight attendant because from the pilot point of view, there is no difference between a private jet pilot and an airline pilot. They undergo through exactly the same type of path, the same type of trainings, simulators, and so on and so forth is exactly the same. Also, what do not change between private and commercial is how the jet is treated. So the maintenance, for example, the procedures, it's exactly the same. The operation manuals, it's pretty much the same between private and a private jet and a commercial aviation airplane. I hope this helps to clarify a little bit the private aviation industry. I know this is maybe something that it requires a little bit of a thought and reasonment, you know, to actually completely understand the difference between a flight attendant and a cabin crew. However, for any other questions you might have about this industry and about how does it work on a private jet, feel free to reach out to me. I will be very happy to answer all of your questions. And ciao for now, and baci baci.